Hey guys, I wanted to have a quick talk about weapon balance in Bloodhunt, as we haven't really seen any big balance changes in a few updates now. I'm hoping that some of these changes will make their way into the Halloween update, or at least a burst rifle and Tommy gun nerf so we can see a new meta. Let me know if you agree with my proposed changes, and let's start it off with the 9-barreled rifle. The 9-barreled rifle, in my opinion, is a very strong weapon if used in the right hands and the right situations. My main issue with the 9-barreled rifle is the fact that it's meant to be a precision rifle. It's meant to be a long or medium to long range weapon. And where it really fails for me is at the range where the marksman and the sniper rifle become strong. So I think the range fall off needs to be increased just so that you are doing your normal damage further away. Because at the moment, like, you'll be shooting someone who's like 80 meters away and you're doing less damage than the original 35 damage. And I think it needs to do that damage a little bit further away. Other than that, like in terms of damage and like RPM and everything else, I feel it's probably a pretty rounded weapon. I just think it needs a little bit more of a range buff. Now, the crossbow is a very interesting one because this thing used to be stupidly overpowered. Like, you could just spam it on the floor all the time and you do stupid amounts of damage. It's become a lot less of a spammable weapon now. So where the crossbow really excels is basically area denial. Very similar to Saboteur, but like a portable Saboteur bomb. Now, I think people are looking at trying to buff the crossbow just because the crossbow is a terrible weapon. Like, no one wants to use it, right? So instead of like buffing the damage more, what if you were to buff the radius of the gas? Gas radius is currently 4 meters. So like you could increase that to 5, maybe 6 meters. And now you're denying more and more area. So it becomes more and more useful as that tool. That's all I would do with crossbow. Minigun. I think this is probably the best balanced weapon in the whole game. It's so easy to counter as long as you are not like standing in the middle of nothing or just trying to out DPS it. But like, because it takes so long to spool up, it's more of a meme weapon than anything else. I love it. I would not change a single thing with a minigun. Silence SMG. This weapon is stupidly good. Like, I love it, but like for its accuracy, for the limited amount of bullets in its magazine, like it's not doing enough damage. It needs something to either buff it very slightly. Like I would maybe change it so the accuracy is very slightly better, because the Tommy gun is, for a lot of people, is just a better pick. The toggler is such a versatile weapon in the game. One of the main downsides to the toggleable is its reload speeds. For me, at least. The reload speeds are so slow on this thing, but that then kind of helps balance out the amount of damage you can do, because this thing at range is stupidly accurate. It's an amazing weapon. And up close, you pop it into automatic mode and you shred. But in the automatic mode, I think it's way too accurate. The crosshair is massive on screen. When you actually get it in game and you actually pick it up and you shoot, you look at where your bullets are going compared to your crosshair. The crosshair is extremely misleading. I think if we were to nerf the accuracy of the automatic mode, I think it would be fine. Double-barreled shotgun. My issue with the double-barreled shotgun, and the pump shotgun for that matter, is the reticle is so big on screen. It's massive. And it doesn't, for me, in my opinion, it doesn't represent accurately where the bullets are going to be going. I think the shotguns, like both the double-barreled shotgun and the pump action shotgun, are in a pretty good state right now, currently at least. I just want the reticle to change. Burst rifle. Okay, hot topic. In the August update, we had an increase to accuracy, and it was quite a big increase. Like, I loved it. I actually really enjoyed that change. I don't think it should have that much damage and that much accuracy, but it was definitely nice to see the burst being a little bit easier to use. I think it should be a medium range weapon. The difference, or the problem, is it kicks out too much DPS. So what I would do is I would focus on the actual body damage number, like how much damage it does. Literally just nerf the damage, maybe increase the recoil a little. And even then, like small amounts. But the damage absolutely needs to be nerfed. The Tommy gun, for me, does too much damage. But the idea of the Tommy gun is to have more damage per magazine. So I enjoy where the Tommy gun is. I just think it's a little bit too powerful compared to the SMG. What could we do with the Tommy gun? Potentially decrease damage or increased damage for the silenced SMG, or maybe a little bit of both. But the main thing I'd do to change the Tommy gun is going to be the accuracy, basically. I think it shouldn't be as accurate. That's what I would change with it. But like, I enjoy the fire rate. I enjoy the magazine count. Reloads are fine. Like, headshot multiplier is fine as well. Like, maybe just reduce the damage a little bit. Damage and accuracy, and I think it'd be fine. Dual crossbows. This is a very, very interesting one because dual crossbows are actually stupidly good if you can hit people in, like, actually hit them. The problem is they are so hard to hit people. What I would change, without changing any of these damage numbers, without changing any of the reloads, the ammo counts, whatever, my first change to these dual crossbows would be increase the bullet velocity. They are so difficult to use if you actually want to try and get those body shots. We need to make sure we don't increase the ammo count though, because increasing the ammo count would be very dangerous if we're keeping this as a spammable weapon. So the only thing I would change is bullet velocity. Everything else I think is fine. Revolver. This is another one of these like precision marksman kind of weapons. I think it's actually fine in terms of balance. The only thing I would change is literally the opposite to the Marksman Rifle. I think this goes out to distances that it shouldn't. I feel like the range is just too much. And if anything, maybe the tiniest recoil increases across the board. But yeah, the distance you can do it is kind of terrible. Especially when you get the gold one, you can spam it at a distance. You can take snipers on with a revolver. And that concept to me is kind of like a little bit silly. So yeah, just range nerf of a revolver, please. Pump action shotgun. I think this is actually in a pretty good spot. Honestly, the fire rate going back to what it used to be is a nice addition. Like that came back in the August update. I don't feel like it's too powerful. Again, like I have the same complaint about the reticles being way too big. As it is right now, I think this is pretty balanced. 9 damage assault rifle. This is probably one of the most balanced weapons alongside the minigun. I'm not a huge fan of the spread increase that they brought in with launch, but honestly, I think that spread increase actually keeps it more in line and away from marksman territory. It does enough damage up close where you can kind of spam it, but without actually competing with weapons which are tuned towards close range combat. If anything, if I had to change one thing, probably be the reload speed of the green variant. It feels a little bit too punishing compared to blue and everything up. Just feels a little bit too much. Marksman Rifle. This is a pretty similar story to the 9-barreled, where I think that where it should excel, it starts losing its range way too quickly. So the one thing I would change, or maybe two things I would change, is the total range you can shoot before you start having a loss of damage. That needs a buff across the board. Green, blue, and purple. I would also make the accuracy, like the spread, or how quickly that spread tightens, a little bit faster. And we're talking like small fractions here. Like if you're going to try and compete with stuff like the revolver, the sniper rifle, the toggler, which can deal consistent damage output at range, you need to have some kind of advantage. And the Marksman Rifle is perfect when your assault rifle can't reach and the person's maybe moving around a little bit too much for the toggler not to spam all of your shots beside them. So it has this one little spot where it's very good, but it's at that little spot where your damage starts falling off. And I feel like it just needs a small buff. Dual pistols, I think, are amazing right now. The one potential change I would make is actually a nerf to the pistols, which is to decrease the amount of damage you are dealing outside their damage ranges. Because these pistols are so good now. Everyone's spamming them, but the problem is, like, you do 22 damage up close now, but you still deal 11 far away. But because you can spam these really, really quickly, like that's actually still not too bad as like a DPS. So I'd like to see that damage value at range dropped off even a little bit more than the 11 it currently does. Other than that, solid weapon choice. Kind of want to find like the purples or the blues, so you've got the increased mag size. I feel like 14 is not a lot of bullets. 26 is definitely a lot. Maybe even go like 16, 20, 24 for the magazine, something like that. But yeah, overall, great weapon, very fun to use. not overpowered. LMG is pretty much a very well-rounded weapon. It allows you to spam both close range and at range. If you keep the trigger held down, it is even better at range because that accuracy just gets closer and closer and closer, and it's so good to use. You kind of need to find the blue or the purple ones if you're going to go at it for range. Green one is basically like a starter weapon. But yeah, honestly, LMG, solid weapon. I wouldn't change anything with the LMG. Starter pistol. I don't think it needs changing, but if I was to change anything, I'd maybe actually nerf the recoil very slightly of this, just because I know it can kick up fairly quickly if you get close to like its proper fire rate. Only change I'd make. It's a terrible weapon, but it's your starter thing. It's something to defend yourself. It's fine. Sniper rifle, again, nothing needs changing with sniper rifle. It's absolutely perfect. You kind of want to go for blue or purple just so you've got more bullets. Other than that, like even the green one still does good damage. So I wouldn't change anything there. As for melee weapons, they are all very, very close. You've got a big step from the crowbar to the spiked bats. The only thing I would do is at some point is like insert something in between here, between the crowbar and spike bat. It's the only thing I'd do. I think there's room for like one, maybe two more weapons, and you'd have a gap here for something which is better than the green ones, but not quite as good as the blue ones. And that wraps up what I think should change with the Bloodhunt weapon balance. What did you think? Let me know if you completely agree or if I'm going mad in the comments. Make sure you subscribe for more Bloodhunt content, and check out some of my recent gameplay videos, including an 18 kill melee only match, and the secret meta loadout that Sharkmob doesn't want you to use. And I'll catch you in the next one.